Itis, come and record the Drift ad.
Today's episode is brought to you in part by Drift Outfitters in downtown Toronto, Ontario. Drift Outfitters is your source for all things fly fishing. From waders to boots to threads and feathers, Drift has it all. Check it out on their website for their latest updates and policies regarding shopping during the pandemic. Curbside pickup for your online phone orders is a great way to get the gear you need. And they're shipping for free across Canada on orders over $100. Visit driftoutfitters.com to learn more. driftoutfitters.com.
Hello, welcome to another episode of SoFly. It is the end of May, and we're back recording another podcast remotely. We're not together this time, unlike the last time. My name is Mitch. We've got Aldo.
Hey, everybody.
We got Yelma.
Hello, everyone.
And we're very excited to be talking with Mike Craparotta. Grew up right here in Southern Ontario and has fished for as long as he can remember. As a child, Mike spent trips to the family cottage fishing away on Lake Simcoe, around Snake Island off the dock for bass and perch. The fishing bug bit him hard and has now taken him to some pretty incredible places, including Yellowstone National Park for cutties and the coastal water of Tampa Bay for Spanish mackerel, which is pretty cool. Definitely want to talk about that. He makes an annual trip to the shores of Lake Superior to fish for coastal brook trout, which is amazing. When Mike isn't fishing, you can find him stuck to the vise, tying up all kinds of patterns from classic dries to modern-day streamers. As a fly tying ambassador at Drift Outfitters, he's a full-blown fly tying junkie and an amateur photographer who's always down to chat, give some tying tips, and talk fishing. Today, he's on the show. Mike, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Long time.
Yeah, I know. It's been a while since we hung out.
It's been like a lockdown or something.
Yeah.
I know. But this is what about? I think it was at one of those flights and flies Drift puts on.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. You remember that? Yeah. And I think we just kind of hung out and chatted tying, chatted fishing. I think what we're going to do today, right? So, Looking forward to it.
Pretty much. I bumped into you a couple times on the.
Oh yeah, Yelma. Yeah, I think it was King Street, King and Bathurst area. I yelled at Yelma. He's like, "Who's that guy?" Yelling at me. Yeah.
It's always funny, like bumping into people from fly fishing when they're not in their waders, and you're like, "Where do I know you from again?"
Yeah.
You're like downtown Toronto. You're like, "Oh, right."
I know. We all got our headphones in, just kind of doing the daily commute, and then it's like, "Oh man, I know this guy."
Totally.
So, wow, wicked.
Amazing. So, Mike,
awesome.
whereabouts you calling it from today?
I'm actually not in downtown Toronto anymore. I moved out the 1st of May. I'm living back. My parents have a place up in Thornbury, Ontario. So pretty close proximity to the Beaver River. Yeah, so I'm chilling here right now. I got some pretty wicked fly fishing opportunities around here in the Grey Bruce, and I'm taking full advantage of it. I've been out as much as I can, and I'm missing the Credit River. I haven't been fishing it quite as much this year, just because it's a little bit further away from me right now. But I'm getting used to the rivers around here, so looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting used to the Grey Bruce and what it has to offer, which is pretty wicked so far. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, love the the handful of times I've fished the Beaver. I love it. So have you been out? Have you been exploring new water?
I have a ton. Yeah, the beaver. It's a bit of a question mark, right? It's a little different than most of the other rivers around here or around Southern Ontario. It's there's not much on it to research, so it's a lot of doing a lot of self-discovery and in walking and wading and figuring it out on your own. I do it a lot. I talk to a lot of anglers, so that helps. But nothing is more beneficial than just going out on your own and figuring things out. As a solo angler kind of thing. So that's what I've been doing mostly. And it's been paying off, man. I've been fishing. So my parents have been here for a while, so I've been coming up here just weekends kind of thing. But now I'm here during the week, so I get a lot of stretches to myself, which is huge, right? Like we don't get that much, on the credit or the Grand or anything like that. So to be able to have a stretch to yourself is huge. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, that's super nice. And where did you go out this long weekend at all and fish?
I wasn't around this area. I was up in the Pigeon Lake area, so the Kawarthas. I have friends that got a place
Very
up
nice.
there. So yeah, we did some, not too much, but I have a kayak, so I brought that up there and did some bass and pike and stuff like that.
Nice.
So
Nice.
that was fun. What'd you guys do? What'd you guys get up to this weekend?
Oh man, we
Credit.
fished the credit pretty hard, eh? We fished
Yeah,
pretty hard on the
we had a
credit. It was
great
pretty
trout
awesome
season.
weekend. Yeah.
Credit, eh?
Yeah, you got it. We were it was a hot weekend, so we were we were like, are we gonna even be able to go out? Is it too hot? But we hit some times when it wasn't too bad, and also found lots of good cold water and had a great weekend fishing a couple days out there. Evening time, that's the best time for us. That's what we've been
Yeah.
afternoon evening guys lately.
Yeah, totally. No, I just watched the episode on the West credit, and I think you guys did a great job. I just wanted to touch on that and just say, you know what, you guys, you don't have to do this, and it's great getting the word out for that region of the world. It touches, a soft spot in my heart, and it's a place where I started to fly fish, and I think a lot of people, right? And that's the start. So
Totally.
I just want to say, I listened to it actually on my trip up to the Kawarthas this weekend, and I got a little emotional, man. You did a great job, Mitch. Your little monologue there at the start, and you did it. You did an awesome job, and I think it needs that little spot. It needs a voice. So I think what better way to do it with you guys, right, on this podcast. So
Right on. Thanks, man. That's so
Thanks
nice
for the
of you.
kind words,
We
man.
appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
So kind. Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, Mike, like, I think same here, like listening not only Mitch talk, but also, some of our former guests and friends and stuff. To your point, Mike, like, it's a really special place for a lot of people because I think it's a place where a lot of people learn how to fly fish and first connect with the sport or maybe even the outdoors. So I think it really does hold a pretty special place. And, if you talk to a guy like Josh, brings his kids there, or even our buddy Adis has started to bring his daughter there on the West Credit because, it's fun to flip little flies for brookies that are pretty eager to go to the fly. It's a lot of people's first, so it's a really special place. So that's a good point, Mike. But thank you, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%.
sure.
So,
for sure.
Mike, why don't we just go right to the beginning then of how this whole thing with fly fishing and you started? Like, how did you get into fly fishing? How did it begin?
To bring it back to the credit, I drew an interest into brook trout. I didn't have access to a boat or anything like that, and I remember doing a bunch of research about brook trout and just being fascinated by them. And how can such a beautiful fish live in these small streams and get to pretty substantial size? And so I was making weekly trips down to the credit with a spin rod actually, and just bringing a little MEP spinner, snipping off the two of the treble hook, snipping off two of the hooks, and pinching the barb on the one that I left, and just going for brookies. And I think I went probably for 2 months straight and didn't get a fish. And I think on one of the last days of the year, I ended up hooking into a nice brookie, and it got me hooked. But throughout those trips down to the river, I'd see, I was the oddball, right? I was showing up with my spin rod, and everyone else on the river had a fly rod, and they were doing a lot better than I was. So that's kind of how I figured out fly fishing was kind of the route to take to go for these fish. So I ended up, over the off season, I ended up doing a bunch of research about fly fishing and what resources we have in Toronto and the surrounding area, and just where to go. And I think I bought a little beginner setup and ended up spending the next following year completely on the Credit River, just trying to target these brook trout again. And it took me a whole year to finally get another brook trout. I think it was at the end of the season again in September, to finally get a brook trout on a fly. So, and then, it just steamrolled, and it just went crazy from there,
Yeah. Totally, yeah. So your first fish on the fly rod was a brookie?
It was a brookie. It was on a muddler minnow, actually. I hadn't been tying at the time, so I bought a bunch of flies. Yeah, and I think I didn't know how to use a muddler minnow. I think I was just casting. I thought it was a dry fly, so I was casting it on the surface. I mean, you can use it on the surface as well, but I was just casting it, skidding it on the surface, and I caught a 6-inch brookie just down from Highway 24. And man, it just that's what steamrolled. Yeah, it's steamrolled huge interest. Yeah,
I know the feeling. That was my first. I think Mitch, I was with you when I caught my first fish on the credit, and it was a brookie. It was on a Prince Nymph, but
wow.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
Nice.
I didn't even realize that. Yeah, I didn't realize your first fish was a brookie. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I was with this guy. I was with this little man. Yeah.
little.
You know, the muddler minnow thing's funny because it's now become like this kind of funny thing where like we've gone back to catching fish on this fly that I've kind of like not written off, but you know, it's like such a classic. Like I don't fish a Mickey Finn, for example, but I remember growing up in Ottawa, people like Mickey Finn, muddler minnow, Mickey Finn, muddler minnow, and I was like, but now that I'm, you know, and I always remember somebody saying, yeah, you can skate muddler minnows on the top, and you know, if it's smaller, it kind of looks like like a skating caddis, and if it's bigger at night anyway, like when you can't see your fly anymore,
like a mouse or something.
It could be a mouse or something. And I thought about that this week because we stayed out pretty late a couple times this week, and I tried it to no success. But
really?
It's good to know that you had some success on it. Muddler minnows, guys.
Nice.
They're coming back.
Yeah.
They're coming back, muddler minnows.
Yeah, what a cool fly. You know, I see
Gab's like rolling in his grave.
Yeah. Well, I see a lot of throughout your podcast too, everyone's saying, you know, even up in Algonquin, like that's the fly of choice, right? I feel like a lot of people are catching it on that. I've grown away from it, and it's something that I'm starting to think about a little bit more and more. There's tying. I know we're going to get into tying a little bit, but there's tying techniques, you know, how to perfect the muddler minnow. And it's big in steelhead, you know, fishing, you know, swinging a muddler and stuff like that. There's little tricks you can do. I know when you spin a muddler up, you get that nice tight head. And then you could take a lighter to it.
Yep.
And that just sucks all the deer hair in. So that's one of the first times I remember trying
true.
that. Yeah, you take a little lighter, you don't burn it, you just kind of keep it close, and it makes a nice little tight head. Yeah, so I've been doing that when I was tying them. Yeah. So try that out when next time you're tying a muddler. And also I found also on the credit I found turkey feathers, and it uses turkey in the muddler minnow. Yeah. So it's been cool, right? Use product of that environment into a fly that you're gonna tie and eventually fish in the same environment. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool, right?
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool. So you actually tied muddlers up with turkey feathers from the credit.
I have, and I fished them and caught fish with fish.
That's a great fly.
With flies on the credit. Yeah.
I gotta open up your Instagram right now.
What a cool fly! What a cool thing that is, you know, to catch a credit river fish with a feather used from the credit river. That's such a cool thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, actually, one of the most recent pictures I just posted. I posted a cripple. I tied on Instagram, and for that biot body, it's a turkey biot body. I found a turkey feather, and I used the biots to make the body on that cripple, and that's from the Credit River. So pretty cool.
Oh, cool, man. That's wicked. Really cool. Yeah, that's wicked. And what's your Instagram handle? We'll just throw it in here now. We'll say it again later too, but we may as well say it right now too.
Yeah, no worries. So my last name's Craparotta, so it's Mike Crap. So MikeCrap. I was crappy growing up in school. I was crappy in all the sports I played. So it's a long Italian last name.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do you fish for crappy?
You've got to catch a crappie.
I do. Well, no, I don't. I don't talk. I don't target them, but you know what? I've caught them a few times up in Muskoka, and actually where I was fishing this weekend, we got into a few. So pretty cool.
Love it.
Them's good eating. Well, I mean, for anybody like Mike, you're photos you're tying has gotten awesome. So
Yeah.
people should. And I know we're gonna get into this, but yeah, everyone should check out your Instagram because it's fire. It's some really nice patterns happening for sure.
Yeah, the serp.
Yeah, I appreciate it all though.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Yama.
Is that? No, I was just saying that one kind. I don't know what it's called. It looks like a little Prince Nymph kind of thing with like a orange body, like a little bit of an orange body on it. That looks just dangerous for the brookies on the credit. I feel like if I tie a little bit of orange on, they just go nuts.
I gotta look at it right now. It has an orange body.
Yeah. Yeah, like a little bit. It's on. It's April 10th post.
Is it dry fly?
No, it's a nymph.
Oh, it's your little Frenchie. You're very extraordinary.
Oh, it's a Frenchie.
Tight.
Oh yeah.
Very tight.
Oh yeah.
Very, very, very good fly. I caught the biggest brown of my life on this fly this weekend.
Yep.
Really?
Put it right in front of your camera.
Oh,
there we go.
Yeah. Let's see it. Yeah. So it's Frenchie.
Good.
I actually. Oh baby. Yeah. That's it. I actually went out with Matt Martin. You guys have had Matt on the show, and we went out for a little fish. But we got into a ton of fish. That's exactly what we were using all day, and we got into a ton of fish. So that's the ticket. I mean, anything that eats mayfly nymphs this time of year, that's what you want to be fishing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt about that, man.
Yeah.
The Frenchies have been coming through hard for me too. But before we get into too much tying, because let's talk about that next for sure. But maybe first we just talk a little bit more about, when you got into fly fishing, like what was it about fly fishing that had you going out, time and time again? Like why do you think it was like, oh, this is something I want to keep doing?
Well, that's an interesting question. You know what? I remember meeting a few Scottish guys on the river, and they were just really seasoned vets that have been doing it for a long time. And, I've always had an interest in fishing, but I wanted a challenge, and I noticed, that these guys were, it seemed like they were doing it for a long time, and it's something that we're going to carry on. It's not something, it's going to be a short-lived kind of thing, like, I don't know, someone that gets into hockey or soccer or rugby or something like that. It's something that we can carry on, into our later years and when we get older. And, it's just the challenge and the exploration involved with it. It's super interesting. And there's a huge mystery aspect to fly fishing. I think we all kind of, attract to. That was it. And I was kind of weary about going out on my own quite a bit. And then once I started to do it, the first few times, it just it stuck, and I just kept doing it and got more comfortable with it. And, and that was it. I mean, just, seeing how much love these Scottish guys had for the sport, and it just stuck. And I was like, you know what, this is what I'm gonna do. And then just meeting, a ton of people, going downtown and going to drift and meeting you guys, and how friendly the atmosphere was, and the people surrounding the sport, and what isn't to love about it, right? I think we can all attest to that.
Yeah, 100%. No, that makes a ton of sense. It is a good community we got here, like there's some good people fly fishing down here. It makes it much more fun when people are cool, and just, nice and friendly and all that. But okay, let's switch to the tying now, because your tying is amazing, and we were just talking about your Instagram channel there a second ago. But how about tying? When did the tying start? Because fly fishing is one thing, but when were you like, I'm gonna take these turkey feathers home and make a fly? And when did that begin?
Tying was it's an interesting story. I never thought I'd get into tying. I remember looking at people that tied and was like, I'll never get into that. And I was actually dating a girl at the time, and we had very different schedules. I was a 9 to 5, and she was kind of like a 5 to 10, and I was kind of like the housewife of the relationship. So I was always cooking dinners, and had a lot of time to myself. So instead of watching soap operas on Netflix, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pick something else up, and we have a long off season in Ontario. I'm sure you guys all know, and
Yeah.
I thought, what better way to occupy my time and try out some tying. So I bought one of those beginner sets and just started tying. I think it was like woolly buggers and caddis nymphs, and actually I was fishing on the Grand quite a bit, and it caters to a lot of smaller flies, and it's tough to find smaller flies in fly shops. So you gotta buy the small hooks, and you gotta tie the small flies on your own, right? So that was a big reason why, and then it just it just steamrolled. It just kept going, and I ended up buying another vise. That one, the jaws didn't hold properly, and
Yeah.
I bought another one, and the materials, and so on and so on, right?
Yep.
Yeah. What about you guys?
Oh, about us, yeah. Fly tying with us.
Yeah.
Well, I
I
mean-
want to hear.
Well,
I
Yilma's
haven't
like
taken to it.
Yilma's an
I don't think it's my-
amazingly classically trained Atlantic salmon tyer, and he actually learned in France and took most of his skills home. Yeah, we tie. I tie, and I think although we've kind of been. I mean, I tied since I started fly fishing in a way, because it was kind of I was drawn to
Same.
fly tying too. It was like, that's a cool thing. Like, I want to do that too. So it's sort of the same thing. But to be honest with you, Mike, unlike you, your fly tying is like really taken off, and you're like an amazing tyer. I kind of put the vice away when I just eventually I just kind of stopped tying, and I started buying more flies. But I will say, a couple weeks ago, I bought a new vise, a Renzetti, with the goal of getting to tie some more flies, and I haven't touched it yet. But I can. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
Mike, on my end, I think Mitch, I tied a lot, and then I didn't tie at all. And then when I met these guys in 2018, I also bought myself a new vise, but I'm definitely a pragmatic tyer. Like, I don't push out of my comfort zone. Like, I don't feel very comfortable tying like intricate dries and stuff. I do try dries, but it's usually like two materials, like kind of things I can tie quickly. Because I mean, for the longest time, I was working kind of like you said, your former partner. I worked restaurant hours up until late, so I would just crank out sometimes by the river, because I was just out of time. Like, crank out like 4 or 5 nymphs, or 4 or 5 like CDC dries, and just fish them that day. Or it's nice that a squirming worm takes 5 minutes to 2 minutes to tie, because I can really pump those out.
Yeah.
But like very pragmatic tyer still, like very simple patterns but effective, like that like I tie a ton of Frenchies, and because I fish a lot of nymphs, I don't tie a whole lot of streamers. But hopefully I can get back into maybe when we're on trip, like we're about to leave for Esnagami, which is amazing, and definitely spend a lot of time tying when we're on trip, because we've got the time, and we can and it's enjoyable.
Mhm.
Kind of fun too. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's just fun. Tying's just fun, like straight up.
Tying's fun.
So, I mean,
Tying's
those
fun.
flies
Yeah.
and flights nights that you were talking about, like people, the goal was always to have people come that might not ever fly fish. It was always
Don't fish.
always
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
don't fish. Introduce them into the sport in a fun way. Have some beers and tie some woolly buggers, and maybe they like it, maybe they don't.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Mike, about like our off season in Ontario is really big, so it's like, why not fly tie? It makes a ton of sense. Spend a lot of the year not fishing.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? The satisfaction of catching a fish on a fly you tied, it's second to none. I think that's the big thing about it all. I remember the first fish I caught on a fly, but I also remember the first fish I caught on a fly that I've tied. So there are two different, events in my fly fishing career that are equally as substantial, right? So, yeah, it's great, and it's
What
great,
was
like
that?
just being
What
able.
was
I
that fish
remember
that you-
it was on just like a hare's ear, I think it was like a hot spot hare's
Oh,
ear.
nice.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
at the time, I thought it was the best fly in the world, and I don't think I have it anymore. But yeah, my whole box right
a great
now,
fly.
it's fly. Yeah, it is a great fly to this day, right? So, what about you, Yelma? You have a creative background. You know, I think
do. I
you'd
mean,
be more into
but-
it. I think you're a perfect fit.
Maybe one day, you know, when I maybe one day. But right now, I don't know. I just haven't taken to. I mean, like that one time, I tied up this orange woolly bugger at Left Field Brewery. That was fun, and I actually did enjoy the process. But in terms of like being a proactive tire, I don't know. Just haven't really gotten into there. You know, not
As
me.
it's stuck.
You have a
That's the
vice.
stuff.
You have a
Yeah,
vice,
yeah.
Yelma.
I do have Vice. Mitch gave me my first Vice. It was one of his first ones. It was like our seal of our friendship, you know. He was
He's like my kid
"Oh."
or something. I gave him one of my first vices. Like, here you go, son. You know, don't fuck it up. Yeah, not just on his
Yeah,
shelf.
pretty much.
But that's cool. You know, that's cool, man.
It is cool. It is cool.
Yeah,
Thanks, Dad.
there you go.
Yeah, for sure. And just
No problem.
you know, just tying up flies and passing it to people on the river, right? Like I think I remember a bunch of times
Mhm.
going down to the Grand and the Credit, and you meet people and they're like, "Hey, you know what? I was fishing with this fly all day. It worked. This is what I've been tying up. Try it out. Here's a couple of flies." So I love that part about fly fishing too, right? The you know, the camaraderie and just people sharing advice and sharing what's worked and what they've been tying. And I brought a bunch of flies home. Like I make trips up to the North Shore Superior every year, and I met a few guys up there. Just me showing up there unknown, and I don't know how to fish it, and a few guys up there just giving me their patterns and saying, "Hey, this works, this doesn't," you know. And that helps. It's huge, right? I bring it home and I don't fish it. I just look at their fly and I recreate it. I just, you know, take their fly and say, okay, I'm going to tie it this way, in my way. So,
Do you have a favorite fly to tie?
I tie so much. I love tying dry flies. And a specific fly, I tied out one on the drift seminar, the drift live streams. I tied a bucktail, like short shank minnow pattern. A lot of the Scandinavian guys do it out in Europe. And that's just that's my fly. I love fishing it. I had a ton of success on it on a ton of species. It's just a minnow pattern. Tied very sparsely with bucktail and, you know, natural materials, and it's done well for me, and it's fairly easy to tie, and, you know, it works everywhere. So I'd say that's my favorite.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great pattern. I mean, that sounds like it makes a ton of sense. I mean, you do tie a lot of kind of like classic patterns, you know, and but you also blend in a lot of modern techniques, like with, you know, our articulated flies and Euro nymphs. How important is it, you know, to you to kind of know where the tying and the techniques kind of come from? You know, like is the technique behind it important, or is it more of a kind of figure it out and do it yourself sort of thing?
A little bit of both.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. A little bit of both. I drew a lot of my work from Kelly Gallup. He's a great, especially you know, coming from his streamers. He's a just great instructor. There's a lot of guys that, you know, they instruct online, and it's very quick and it's tough to understand why they're doing certain things. And if you watch Kelly Gallup, he's it's long. They're long videos, but you know, he explains every single, you know, step to his fly tying, and that was a huge step for me, right? Just listening to his stuff and just kind of like absorbing as much as you can, being a sponge. And yeah, because he's not just a streamer guy. He ties a lot of classic dry flies and nymphs and emergers and stuff like that. And, you know, it's all free online. Just go out there and listen to his videos, and you know, he's entertaining to watch. He's hilarious. He's out in Montana, so he's in the best region, you know, fly fishing, I'd say arguably in the world. So the guy knows what he's talking about, and he's you know, he's got a huge history in the fly tying world. So that's a big one. I'd say, you know, listen to the guys who've done it before and follow their steps, and you'll become a better tyer, guarantee it.
Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, like you say, there's so many good resources out there, like, you know, on YouTube and things like that. Do you have any YouTube videos up, Mike? Are you teaching right now on YouTube? Or I know you're doing drift videos. I know that because I've seen them and they're awesome. But
Yeah, that's it. I just did the drift stuff. You can reference Chris from Drift for the drift fly tying videos. He's a master out there. Actually, I drew a lot of inspiration. I should shout out Chris because that guy's just drew a huge inspiration to me from the start. My fly tying, from the start of me fly tying, and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe in the future,
Mhm.
we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, man. I think I'm ready for the Mike Crap YouTube channel. You know, I think it's gonna be great. Crap flies. I would watch the heck out of that, man. I can tell you right now.
Yeah.
It's an amazing opportunity. You know. Like, I'd
Yeah,
love to
for
be part
sure.
of
If Bitch is my fan, then I might start it.
it. We'll
Well, I
subscribe.
think we're all your fan, man.
Okay.
We will subscribe. We'll definitely subscribe for that. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk more with Mike. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Gills Fly Fishing International. Gills Fly Fishing International provides the destination fly fishermen with the best personalized trip planning and booking experiences possible. And they run FFI Magazine, an online fly fishing magazine with articles from your favorite fly fishing writers. The magazine is filled with tips, trips, and tightline stories to get you jacked for your next adventure out on the water. Visit flyfishinginternational.com to learn more. That's flyfishinginternational.com. Mike, when it comes to like new tires and getting into tying, like what is a common mistake people can avoid? Like something that's easily fixed, you know, because you know getting into tying might be a bit daunting, just like fly fishing, but getting into tying is like, I mean, there's really no base. You know, how the heck? It's like at least with a rod, it's like, well, I know I have to cast this. With fly tying, it's like, what do I do? Like, what are some of those beginner mistakes people can kind of just cruise past?
Yeah, I mean, it closely resembles fly fishing. It's just, you know, start with a really beginner setup. Like, don't go buying, you know, $400, $500 Renzetti rotary vise from the start. Start with a beginner setup. Tie flies that you're going to be fishing. Don't jump right into salmon flies or articulated streamers and stuff like that. Tie flies that you're going to fish and go out and try them out. And, you know, I think that's what will spring the interest, is having success on flies that you've tied. So I think that's a big, you know, piece of advice would be start small, start on the basics, and go out and fish them and tie them to fish them. Don't tie them just to tie. And then I think that's what will spring the interest. At least that's what happened with me. Like, I didn't tie just to be this, you know, artistic creation, you know, Instagram person. I started tying because I wanted to, you know, tie flies that I could fish. So I think that's what should be the number one goal from the start, is to just tie flies so that you can fish them. And then, you know, from there you'll see how you feel with it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Would you say the woolly bugger would be a good first fly? Basic, simple, and fishable?
I think that's the number one. I think in the fly tying kit I got, it was like, there was like a woolly bugger setup, like, so it gave you the materials for a woolly bugger, gave you the materials for like a caddis, gave you the materials for an Adams dry fly, and then like an ant fly. So like a lot of like little simple streamers, simple nymphs, and simple dry flies. Start out, that's your basis. Get used to tying those. Tie like 10 woolly buggers. Tie 10, you know, prince nymphs or caddis nymphs. Tie 10 elk hair caddises. And then, you know, you'll get used to it. And the more you tie, the better you get.
Right.
Yeah, that makes
Speaking
sense.
of the better you get, like I would say, like, I mean, Mike, I've known you for like 3 or 4 years now. It seems like in the last year or 2 years, like your flies have gotten to like a magazine level quality, you know, like really, really, really nice stuff. Was that like a conscious thing where you're like, okay, I'm going to take tying seriously, or were you just enjoying it more? Or maybe there's what clicked that made your like, because I feel like your flies went from like, you know, good to great, like that, to reference that Frenchie, like it's one of the nicest Frenchies I've seen.
Yeah.
Like I'd pay, like, you want to tie me 20 of those, I'll pay you, kind of thing. Like, you know.
No, thanks, Aldo. I appreciate it. Honestly, it's I think photography has a big aspect to that, but also I'd attribute it to a lot of a lot of this pandemic, just being at home a lot and having a lot of time to yourself, I've been tying a ton. Like it's a crazy amount. When I'd normally be, out on the weekends with friends, I'm now home at the Vice, having just as much fun. Not to say that it's not as much fun, but having just as much fun, sitting at home, putting on some nice music and having a beer and tying a bunch of flies all night, right? Thinking about the spring or the fall or whatever, right? So that was a huge thing. But I think a lot has to do with the photography. I lived with a roommate that was a big time photographer, and he kind of set me up with, the framework to take nice photos. And, from there, it's just understood a little bit of it more, and angles and lighting and stuff like that. So I think, that has a big attribute to it for sure.
Nice little macro lens you got there, I notice.
Yeah, I got a little. It's actually
Oh, okay.
I asked Rob from Drift. He posted a few flies, and I was like, Rob, what kind of lens are you using? Like I like your photos, and he's like, I got this lens. He sent a picture of it to me, and I think I bought it like the next day or two. I was like, I'm buying that lens. So I ended up buying it, and it's just been a learning curve ever since. I think that's a whole thing in itself, is just taking pictures of your flies. It's huge. It's not easy, and I'm my heart goes out for all those guys out there that take pictures. Like, damn, it's not easy. Like it's a huge learning curve. Like it's not just you press the shutter, and take a picture. It's a lot of setup and lighting, and I don't think people realize that.
Yeah,
right?
Well, that's like a whole other side of that's like a whole other hobby, really, is photographing flies.
Yeah, totally.
So, okay, Mike, the mother minnow thing was a cool little trick. What other little tricks you have up your sleeve?
Tricks.
Yeah.
Oh,
tips, tricks.
I love that
things...
muddler minnow tip, man. That's sick. Do you ever do that with bass? Like deer hair spun bass flies and stuff too, or is that weird? Is that just making like a current thing at that point?
So invest in a packer. I know Kelly Gallup, he shuns on them. He's like, don't pack your deer hair. But when you see guys that like Andreas Anderson or Russ Madden, or there's a few guys out there, just they're amazing deer hair tires. They pack their deer hair heads. So look it up. Drift has them a lot on their site. But that's if you want your deer hair heads to look like those. There's a lot of guys who tie, nice bass poppers and stuff like that. They're really packing that deer hair and using a lot. Like it's not just you're pinching off a little bit of deer hair and spinning it. It's like they're pinching off half their patch, that they buy. And
oh, wow.
It's a lot of deer hair. I don't think people realize that, but tips for deer hair is one of the most, I think difficult materials to tie with. I'm trying to think of other techniques to use. There's so much, man. There's so much.
I think that lighter technique is like it's a diamond in the rough. That's a good trick, man. I never heard that before. Like use a lighter to tighten up the hair. Like that's so cool.
No, well, finishing off like a parachute too. So a lot of guys, they'll use like a whip finisher to finish off the parachute. But I just use a little bit of, I saw this in a video, just use a little bit of super glue and just kind of, instead of whip finishing around the parachute post, just dab a super glue in there and it works just as good, right? You don't have to whip finish around the parachute post. That's another little tip I use quite often.
Algoma, the guide we had out there was awesome. His name's Adam Valley, but he's a seasoned bass tournament guy, turning into a fly angler. He's guiding a lot of fly anglers lately, and him and I were chatting, and Yilma too. We were all chatting about either techniques you use with like spinning and bait casting, and looking at that kind of like lure design, and trying to talk about what kind of similarities can we have with bait casting. And I just kind of thought, you gave me a streamer once, and I thought back to your time on Simcoe and for cruising brook trout up in Georgian Bay and whatnot on Huron. How much does your spinning or conventional angling past inform any of your fly design? Is the question, I guess.
That's interesting.
Or do you see that like an opportunity there to look at those, because like those baitfish patterns you gave me are amazing, and I was just wondering if maybe some of your past big water experience has informed some of that design, or do you see like an opportunity for fly anglers to look at lure design in conventional angling? And because obviously you look at it, a game changer, it's a crankbait, kind of, not kind
totally,
of, it is.
totally.
So it's like,
Totally.
so how,
I think,
where do you see like the two worlds colliding?
yeah, I think the biggest thing is the fly line, right? Like I think you got to get an intermediate or full sinking line. I think that's the biggest thing that we should take away from those spin guys. But in terms of lures and stuff like that, I tie those bucktail streamers and I call them rapalas. I remember giving a bunch away and just saying, here's a bunch of my rapalas. That's what I call them. That's essentially what they are, right? I mean, it takes me quite a while to tie them, and I don't know, you pay what, $10 for a rapala, and I think about that when I tie those flies. It's like, they're gonna last a while. And the time I put in that, is it worth $10? Sure, right? So that's the way I think of them, right? But yeah, although those, I think I gave you a few of those ones with I think they were like, I put saddle hackles on them, so they had a nice they were like a kind of flat wing style. But you said you had success on them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought they were great. Like, I thought they were great lake patterns, which is kind of interesting. So I was just thinking, like, reading your bio and you talking about, going up for a cruising brook trout, I thought maybe, or starting your angling life kind of in Simcoe, if that had any effect on the way you tie streamers.
No doubt. Yeah.
I was just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, it did for sure. Sure.
Love the fly tying, Mike. It's great, and keep on trucking with the fly tying because the flies are looking amazing. But before we go, because we're gonna ask Mitchy's Fishies 5 soon, but before we go into that, why don't we just take another step back? We talked about how you got into fly fishing. Oh, what, Ilma?
It's been an hour.
Ilma has a
I
problem.
didn't even realize. Like, I
Ilma has
honestly
an
just
issue
thought we
over
just started this podcast.
Come on, now,
Okay.
man. We have.
That's irrelevant to the topics of conversation for this
We
podcast.
did just start the
Sorry.
podcast 40 minutes ago. But we will ask Mitchy's Fishies 5, and we talked about how you got into fly fishing. We talked about fly tying, but now one common thing that unites us is the fly fishing community down here. Like, let's just talk about that for a second, because it's not often we talk as much as we are trying to promote the community and a bit of togetherness and fly fishing down here in Southern Ontario. We don't often talk about our feelings towards the community down here. Like, as an angler down here, how do you feel about fly fishing in Ontario and Southern Ontario? Like, how do you just generally feel about it?
That's a great question. I jumped into this community on my own and had to meet everyone kind of on my own. So everyone's super welcoming. You show up to the river, like I was saying before, and they'll open up their fly box and say, hey, this was working, this wasn't, take a few flies. And I think that different from conventional angling, that takes it apart a little bit. That kind of separates it from any other kind of fishing, right? It's I love that camaraderie, and what a great community. We I think we all met each other at events in the city. I think I met Aldo at the shop, and I've met Yelma and Mitch. I met you guys at events that I think Drift's put on. Yeah. So, this extends further than just fishing. So I think that's a big thing. That's a big draw to fly fishing, right? In Southern Ontario, at least, is that you're constantly going to be meeting people. And
I wonder if it's because like you get into fly fishing and it's like you're just like more into fishing in a way, you know what I mean? Like it's like, because you're right, like fly fishing, it's like we go to like tying nights together at breweries, like hang out and tie fish. Like, it's like a whole thing outside of being on the water, which a lot of people are like, that's weird, what are you doing? Like, but it's like a whole way of life,
Yeah, totally. What great people, to meet, right? Like, I think if we wanted just to catch fish, I would just put a worm and a bobber on a hook,
Yeah.
on a fishing rod
Totally.
and do that. But I think, we're all in it for the challenge. And I think because of that, it kind of extends our fishing abilities. And I
Yeah.
think everyone, because of that, we all kind of relate, so.
Yeah, for sure. Is there? How do you think what? What are some ways the fly fishing community could get better in Ontario? Because it's kind of something I'm trying to ask more people that are in the Ontario fly fishing community, because we've talked about this for years. It's like, it's great that we've got this pretty awesome community in Ontario that's wow, as if a really good fly fishing community exists here. Not just in Southern Ontario, but in Eastern Ontario, Northern Ontario, Northwestern. How can we get better? You look at places places in the U.S. where the fishing is just we touched on it in the credit episode, where people are just they'll fight for the river, they'll stand up for it, or everybody just has this agreement that they won't fish if it's a certain temperature, blah blah blah. What are things that we could do in Ontario? You think that or what are some challenges that we face?
Well, challenges, but I think things that we're doing, and I think we're what Drift's doing with the live streams and the tying nights. I think that's huge, right? I've met a few guys on the river this year, and I've never seen them before, and it seems like they've just got into fly fishing. So, and that's new, right? I'm starting to see a lot of new people on the rivers, which is good to see, and I think that's big for our community, right? I think that's what's making it grow, is doing these little events and left field, flies and flights and what the fly stuff in the off season, and little casting events and seminars. I think that grows a lot of interest, right? It makes it seem somewhat special, aside from conventional and float fishing and stuff like that. So. I think, a lot of people out there, they have an interest in fishing and they want to challenge themselves. And I think what better way to do it than to get into fly fishing, and what awesome community we have, right? So, you guys, come on, you guys, this is a big one. Established, I think I saw 2016. Damn, it feels like it was just yesterday I started listening to your episode. So, this is a big one, straight up. This is a huge one. It gives me something to do on those long drives to fishing spots, and I got your voice in the back. It's weird right now because I'm hearing you guys talk, and it's like I'm listening to an episode. So
that's a podcast. No, it's cool.
Then you got to listen to yourself. That's the freakiest.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right though. Getting more people into fly fishing in Ontario, because we have a good community, but it's we could have more people that dig it. And I think in doing that, we have more stewards for the rivers and people that care and all that. And then all the good stuff comes from that. I think that's right.
Totally.
Exactly.
I think
inclusivity.
I think also. Oh, sorry, Yuma.
No, you go ahead. I just wanted to touch on inclusivity, but.
Yeah, please touch on it.
Do it.
This is your
Well,
moment
let me
to touch.
exclude you from talking about that.
No, I was just saying. Yeah, I totally agree. I feel I think that's a great, the biggest part where I love this team that I'm on. With Aldo and Mitch, and is the fact that I can promote to push for more people who think that this sport is exclusive. I know I've said this before, but inclusivity is a huge important thing, especially taking care of the rivers, I believe anyways. On Sunday I took a lady out to teach her how to cast on Irondale Park, and she's gung-ho. She's at Tommy Thompson today, perfecting her cast and getting things ready, and she's going to teach her daughter, and there you go. There's 2 new people who are probably going to teach more people, and I think it's just great. So
Snowball.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice little snowball effect.
Yeah, I think to that point, I think it kind of touches what I was going to say before I rudely interrupted you. Is I think comparatively to when I first joined the sport, it's a friendlier sport now.
Yeah.
And I remember I joined the sport when I was 10, so that was 24 years ago. So obviously maybe a 10-year-old is not a good reflection of how to base a community, but I would say even from when I moved to Toronto in 2009 to now, it feels friendlier.
Yeah.
It feels like, and I think people from Ontario have stopped looking to other places and started looking at their own province too. And that was something that we was always something we tried to do from day one was, that's why I gravitated towards SoFly myself before I joined. Was like, we got a great thing going on here. Like, we don't need to like run off to Montana to have an incredible experience. No,
it's pretty fun though.
No offense to Montana. I mean, I've been there a couple times and I love it. And Mike, I know you've been there too.
Yeah.
And well, we haven't even talked about that, but but like, I think people are looking at Ontario. People from Ontario are looking at Ontario, being like, look at all these great things we can do. Obviously, technology and fly fishing helps too. Like you mentioned, sinking lines, pike lines, bass flies, pike flies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This all helps in creating like a more inclusive community for people who want to fly fish. I do think the river's a friendlier place, even with myself included. Like I people wave, they're happy. You know, if I think to Patrick that was on our show a couple times, we ran into the river on Saturday. He's a pretty young kid who's really into fly fishing, and and now, he's out with Chris and stuff, and that all stems from just saying hi to people in the river, and I think that's pretty rad.
Totally.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think a big thing too is doing big trips, right? Like you guys have all been on trips, and that helps to spring a huge interest in it, right? And it's just experiencing somewhere else and what they have to offer, and then it kind of puts into perspective what we have here, right? Like, I know you were gonna mention Montana. Montana is amazing, an amazing place to fish, but I couldn't relate. A lot of the spots that I fished in Montana very closely resemble a lot of the places that we fish here. I mean, not the mountains in the background and all that.
Yeah.
But similar size fish, similar species of fish. And you know what? Like, I think we take it for granted sometimes. So we got a pretty awesome spot here in Ontario, to go for the fish we have. So
this past week, I couldn't agree with that more after the past week we had.
Yeah, we've had some really good days.
Oh, yeah?
Mind blowing, Been really fun. It's been really fun to be able to just like enjoy, our own fishery close to home. And yeah, it's been banging. It's been really fun. But I want to spend some time on Menchie's Fishies 5. I don't want to like bang through all the answers. I want to kind of talk about each one because I'm really excited to hear what your answers are for these. So maybe we switch gears and we do Menchie's Fishies 5 now. How's that sound?
Totally.
Switch gears. Why, do we have another segment?
Let's do it. Menchie's Fishies 5.
Oh,
we have something called Factor Fishy, but do you have a Factor Fishy?
Somebody didn't write any.
No, so we're gonna Menchie's Fishies 5 it up. Okay, Mike, Menchie's Fishies 5. Let's do this right now. The first one is, what is your favorite fish and why? If you had to pick a favorite fish, what would it be?
Favorite fish, hands down, is a brook trout. It started my love for fly fishing, and I chase them year round, or I should say all our fishing season. I make trips up to the North Shore of Superior chasing coaster brook trout. I don't know if you guys have done that yet, but that definitely should be on your list.
Sounds crazy.
It's a whole different ball game. They're andronymous brook trout, so they do what steelhead do, and it's a wicked chase. It closes, I think, Labor Day every year, so you got to get in there a little bit before, but that's a hell of a trip that I think you guys should put on your list. But hands down, brook trout, and yeah, that's it.
Jeez, I mean, there's brook trout, and then there's coastal like superior brook trout. I think, you know what I mean. Like I love brook trout. I love them. We fish them on the credit, and they're beautiful fish. But I think the fish you're fishing up there are like kind of more like monsters. Like those things are crazy.
They are insane. Yeah, it's just a different type of fish, and it's like I was talking to a buddy that he goes up there quite a bit, and he kind of gave me showed me the ropes before I went up there. But he said you got to fish them like bass. It's like you fish in certain areas that you think bass would be, and it's very different than how we fish for them on the credit, right? It's like pocket water and a high altitude. It's still high altitude, but it's more of like a bass fishing game than anything. And very similar to steelhead.
Crazy,
too.
Man.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I get it totally. Yeah, catching a superior brook
It's
trout.
wicked.
Yeah, that'd be my favorite fish too. That's definitely something we got to do. That's no doubt about that. Okay, well, that's an interesting kind of into number 2 is if you could fish anywhere in the world right now, assuming it's the best time of year to go there and the fishing's going to be amazing, where would you go and why?
I did in my mid-20s. I did a big trip. I backpacked Montana. I did a month-long trip, solely fly fishing. I didn't go with anyone else because
Nice.
that's all I wanted to do the whole trip.
You're badass.
Solo in Montana.
Yeah, I
that's
think-
a buck, man.
Yeah, I rented a little SUV and I drove out there and I slept at Walmart parking lots and I just all day every day fly fish. So I started out in Whitefish, Montana in Glacier National Park, fishing for bull trout and cutthroats. And then I spent some time in Missoula, Montana. I fished Rock Creek and the Upper Madison and stuff like that. And then I finished off in Bozeman, and I did a lot of fishing in Yellowstone National Park and the surrounding areas. So if I could fish anywhere right now, it would be Montana, and more specifically, I'd be in Yellowstone National Park fishing Slough Creek in the second meadow. That's it.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's tight. I could like that. That sounds
100%.
Our friend Chloe will like
Yeah.
that answer a lot.
Yeah.
That's her home water. Yeah.
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's great, man. I know. I got to get down there. My God. We were going to fish there, then COVID
Do
took
it.
the world over. I mean, there's been worse things because of COVID, but,
Not you.
Got it.
Although you've been to Montana,
Yeah, twice.
and then Mitch and Yalma no.
not yet, my friend. Not yet. But
We are losers.
Okay.
we're hoping.
Sorry.
we're trying to get out there. I mean, it's just it's just like it's a mecca, right? It's just like the place to go. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, Wyoming too is.
yeah, I want to fish
Amazing.
Wyoming too. Okay, number 3, and maybe this will be connected. I don't know, but number 3 is what is one of your best fishing memories? Fishing memories are such a thing with angling. What is one of your best? One of your favorites?
Well, you touched on it in my intro, but I grew up on Snake Island on Lake Simcoe, and I spent my summers there outside of the school year, and I would wake up early with my grandfather out there, and we'd have I had a ton of cousins, and I was the only one who kind of sprung an interest in fishing, so he'd be waking me up quietly in the room of 5 kids and take me down to the dock, and we'd fish for bass and perch. And literally, it wasn't just to fish for fun. Like we fished and we kept a bunch of bass and perch to eat, and like that was just the norm, right? Like that's what we would eat for dinner.
Yep.
So that's a huge one. It's just waking up early with my grandfather, fishing for bass and perch and having them for dinner, breaded bass and perch for dinner. Nothing's better. That's like, stuck with me
man.
to this day.
Do you still fish out at that area ever, or and fish for perch ever, or is it you don't go out there anymore? Or?
Yeah, I do actually. My grandfather's gone now. It's just my grandmother's out there, and I do spend a few weekends in the summer out there. And I think it was a couple years ago. I hooked into a nice perch. I think probably 12, 14-inch perch, and
Wow.
my grandmother was like, "I want a perch for dinner," so I ended up having to. I was like, I don't usually keep them, but I'll keep it for her, right? Kind of bring back the nostalgia. So I ended up cleaning one up and
That's awesome.
having it for dinner. So brought some memories back, which was nice.
Yeah, that's great, man. I gotta say, if we're gonna keep fish, perch are pretty tasty to keep. I gotta say, they're pretty good eating fish. I've been thinking about perch a lot lately. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Delicious, man.
Oh, I got my mind on some fresh walleye.
Yeah, that's true too.
Ooh.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Walleye's coming.
A few more days.
Yeah.
A few more days.
Okay, number 4 then in Mitchie's Fishies 5, Mike, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, but why do you fly fish? What do you get out of fly fishing? What is it that keeps you going back?
Yeah. I think it fills a void for my constant desire. Like I love to explore, and I love to figure out new places, and I think that kind of fills that void. I love about fly fishing is that you sit there and you do up your wading boots, you put on your waders, you do up your wading boots, and then for me at least, I kind of go into this just meditative state, and then all I can remember is undoing my wading boots and taking off my waders. It's, that's just kind of, at least when I'm alone. And that's a big thing. It's just, it kind of fills that void for the constant need to explore and just kind of go into that meditative state and just, kind of relax for a bit and put the mind at ease. I know it's pretty cliche. Everyone says it, but that's what it is. That's what it does for me.
Yeah, that's totally cool.
That's what it is.
Totally
That's
fine.
what it is.
Cliche. Nothing wrong with cliches.
Yeah,
Totally cool. I get it. I'm with you there. The need to explore makes a ton of sense. Fly fishing does allow you to explore. Really. Have just a field day. It's cool.
Yeah, it's great.
So number 5 of the Mitchie's Fishies 5, and the last.
Maybe the
Mitchie's
most
Fishies
poignant
5.
for you.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to know what your answer is to this one. What fly pattern represents you best and why? If you were a fly pattern, what would you be?
I could go and say some kind of intricate, detailed salmon fly. I'm just gonna say, I'm a balanced leech. I'm saying a balanced leech because I find a balance between fly fishing, and I find I balance it out with my fly tying in the off season, and I like to fish rivers, and it's something that you can fish in lakes, and I like the balance that the balanced leech has, and I think that quite closely resembles the way I am as an angler and as a person.
We've never had the balanced leech before on the show. I love it. It's great, man.
Yeah, you guys know the balanced leech, so
That's
except
perfect.
for the
That's a perfect
balance.
You thought about this, Mike.
I haven't listened to you guys before. Not at all. No, the balanced leech, it's a jig hook. So you buy, I don't know, a size 8, size 6 jig hook. And then you buy, finishing nails or like sewing pins. And you tie it on, you put your bead on the sewing nail or the finishing pin. And then you tie it on to the hook before you tie the fly. So that's a huge pattern. I use it all the time. And steelhead, brook trout, brown trout, anything. Name the species. It catches fish.
And yeah, it's bang and fly. It looks like such a good fly. Imagine that'd be it would just catch anything.
Totally.
Mike, what do you think? What do you think fly tying's next frontier is? Like if articulated streamers took over and Euro nymphs and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
What's next? What do you think? What do you think? Because you read a lot about tying and you obviously watch a lot of tying. So yeah.
I think it's gonna come full circle. I think the classics are gonna come back.
Yeah.
Not that they haven't gone away.
Yeah.
But a lot of the classics are starting to see a lot of people bring back stuff that have been tied way long ago, and I think they're making a comeback, and they're super fun to tie, man. Like it's a lot of natural materials, and very little dye, and I actually I'll show you guys a book. I think it's over here.
That's a great answer.
I have
I
a
love
really
that.
old.
That's cool.
I was gifted this book by an uncle, but it's called Artificial Flies and How to Tie Them by L.V. Bates. And it's just an old handheld book about how to tie flies. And I've been going over it, and
That's cool.
I've been going over it, and I've been tying some cool patterns from this old school book that I was gifted for Christmas this year. So, and honestly, you see a ton of stuff on Instagram and stuff like that, but to be able to go back and tie flies that guys have tied almost 100 years ago, it's pretty cool to do. Catch fish on them. So
yeah, that's super cool. I'm excited if that comes back. That's cool, man. Everybody starts learning about back to where kind of everything came from and the roots and stuff. It's cool.
Totally.
It's great.
Totally.
Well, now I want to go tie some flies. Now I just need to hit the vise. All this fly talk has made me want to go tie some dry flies, or try to. I'm not very good these days, but Mike, man,
Oh, come on, baby.
We'll tie some
Yeah,
flies. We're gonna hit the water soon, but
Yeah, get on it. Hey, if I see you guys, I got a handful of flies for all you guys. So,
oh man,
if we run into each other,
no way.
Oh,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Where are you fishing? Where are you
I
fishing?
got
Where are you
way
gonna
too
hit the
much-
river next? Where are you going next? We might run into each other. I don't know.
Where? Drop
Where
a pin.
exactly?
Not to give away any spots, but drop a pin. We'll meet you.
Yeah. And yeah, outside the podcast, I'll let you guys know, and then we'll get out there.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a baggie for you guys each.
Right
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
wicked man. Yeah, we should fish. Let's go fishing. What the heck are we doing? Let's hit the river.
We'll bring a baggie of
Yeah,
beer.
100%.
Hey,
100%.
I'm there. 100. Yeah.
Well, Mike, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. It's been super fun chatting about your fly fishing life and fly tying, and yeah, appreciate chatting. And again, yeah, we got to hit the water. What the hell's going on? Like we got to go out fishing.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. You hit the nail right on the head, Mitch. Yeah, thanks. Damn. Guys, thanks for having me on. It's an honor. Love talking tying. Love talking
Pleasure's
fishing.
all ours, man.
Yeah. Yoma. Like, this has been awesome. And I can't believe
man.
none of us have.
Yeah, man.
I can't believe none of us have fished together. So, like,
I know, I don't
we gotta
understand
make this
it either.
happen, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I
Yeah,
know.
that's gotta happen. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it this summer for sure.
Whack. We've got to make
100%
it
do
happen.
this summer.
Yeah. People still say whack?
Oh yeah, wax.
I say
Wax
whack,
in,
yeah.
baby.
Yeah, but we're in our 30s.
That's okay. Wax is
Hey,
cool.
we're talking about bringing the classics back. Let's bring it back.
Yeah, man. Exactly.
For sure.
Good point. I love it. All right, Mike. Thanks so much for coming on the show, and we'll put a link to Mike's Instagram channel in the show notes. Everybody check it out because his flies are amazing. But thank you so much for talking with us, Mike. It was a pleasure.
Totally. Gentlemen, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Alrighty.
Happy to talk.
Mike's coolest guy, man. I love Mike. I haven't seen him in so
he's
long because of the pandemic, but he's a fucking awesome guy. I love him. He's so nice.
So
Crazy good tire too.
crazy good tire, and such I'm glad you asked those questions about the community-based questions, just because
Yeah.
that guy is at every event.
Yeah.
Like
Awesome.
he's a huge supporter and a huge resource to people, and like he comes to those left field nights.
Yeah.
He was drinking left field beer, which was awesome. But
Yeah.
he comes to those left field nights just to talk and help, or just
I
get
love
people, just to
that.
raise the stoke level. I love that.
100%. Yeah, he's a Stoke raisin level kind of guy, and I think that's awesome because he hit the nail on the head there. We were talking about Southern Ontario, and we ended the show there. Everybody listening, we were talking a little bit about the Beaver River, and we were getting each other all amped up because we've got some amazing fishing down here, and it's cool when people are excited about it because it's something to be excited about. So yeah, you're right. It's nice to see Mike come out to stuff and be into it.
It comes out to everything, and
Yeah.
his tying has gotten pretty next level. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
Rob's leaned on him for seminars and stuff over at Drift, and
Yeah.
you can see why. So to
No doubt.
learn a little bit more, check out the show notes that Mitch is probably gonna
At
put
Mike
together.
Crap. At Mike Crap. Check that out. MikeCrap. Check him out on Instagram, and yeah, check out the show notes.
and
check
check
him
out
out on
the
Instagram.
Drift YouTube channel, because they
Drift
have all of his
YouTube.
live streams saved, and you can learn some amazing things from Mike.
Yeah, that'll
Which
be
is
in the
awesome.
show notes.
Guys,
Yo.
when this gets released, it's going to be June 1st, and do you know where the fuck we're going to be?
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be at Escagami Lodge again.
Yes, we are, baby. Yes, we are. Did you hear that sound effect I just did?
Yeah,
Yeah, I did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna be hosting on the lodge. It's
that's
pretty
how
awesome.
I feel right now.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm so
I thought
excited
it was
'cause
you. I didn't think it
tomorrow-
was a button.
Do you know what the best thing about this is, though? And I'll be honest with you right now.
We're going to be
I-
completely off grid.
Yes, and also the fact that it was a long weekend, and it was a great long weekend. Everybody kind of it was a real, I was at work today, and people were like, man, that felt like a real weekend, I was like, yeah, totally. But then I worked today, and then tomorrow is my Friday, because we're leaving Thursday.
Yeah.
And it's
2-day
like-
week, baby.
I love 2-day weeks. We got to, Trudeau, come on, hit us up. We got to get 2-day weeks going, because 2-day weeks are awesome. I'm all about them. But we're leaving Thursday, 4 a.m. in the morning, and we're going to drive 13 hours to Nikina. Well, we're gonna go to Long Lac, past Long Lac there, and stay in between Bridges Inn. We're gonna have a nice get a little pizza, Yelma. Get some wings for you.
Shout out between Bridges Inn 2 years in a row.
2 years
Nicest
in a row.
people ever.
Great
They're like,
place.
Aldo, you're coming back. I called them today. They're like, Aldo,
Oh
the
yeah.
fly fishing guys. And I was like,
way.
yeah, that's us.
Yeah,
And
wow.
they were like, oh, great. Well, you coming back? They're like,
That's
we're
amazing.
like, yeah, we're filming for Esnagami.
They're so
And
nice
they're
there.
like, wow.
So
I was
nice.
like,
Well, I can tell you
Nice
right now, we're
people,
gonna be, although me and you, because we got 2 rooms, me and you are gonna cuddle up with a deluxe pizza and put on some
Yeah.
ice road
Yeah.
truckers and crank that AC to 15
Yes.
degrees, and we're just gonna spoon all night.
yes. yeah. Yeah. 401 Highway Rescue is
Yeah.
going to get a train run on it.
Yeah, and we're just gonna eat
Yeah.
pizza and wings and then we're gonna get up the next day and we're gonna fly in to fish for 7 days and just melt in fishy heaven.
Yeah.
It's gonna be amazing.
Super lucky, super privileged. So think.
Yes.
We're
No doubt.
gonna have to shout out Eric Lund again for
Yep.
inviting us, and
100%.
shout out I don't know, just whoever
shout out.
is involved, and just shout out, baby.
Yeah,
Super
100%.
lucky.
It's kind of crazy. Esnagami has been our key to the lockdown 2 years in
Yeah.
a row.
It
Isn't that kind
has.
of crazy?
Yeah, and we're doing it very carefully. We're all vaccinated. We're all tested.
Tested.
We are all. Idis and I live in the same house. We're being extremely.
I've
careful.
adopted Yilma.
Yeah, so it's like Yilma's Aldo's adopted son just for this trip. So we're being very, very,
Wait,
very,
sorry,
very,
what did
very
you say?
cautious
You
about all of
adopted me?
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Oh, I didn't hear. I can't believe I didn't even hear that. Yeah, of course, I'm your son.
That'd be so insane.
And we're being very cautious of all that, and we're gonna go and thanks Eric for having us again. Yeah, like you say, but it's gonna be great. So everybody stay tuned for that. The next podcast that comes out is gonna be, which is really cool. If you're listening to this, I'm very excited because the next show is gonna be us in Esnagami. I don't even who knows what'll happen. We could have caught an 80-pound brook trout, and it's like first people in the world to ever land an 80-pound brook trout. Can you imagine if we break the world record?
Brook trout
Yeah.
record.
Who knows? Who knows? So, anyways, I'm looking forward.
Maybe we could break a tippet record. We could break a tippet record.
We could.
I mean,
break a
after
tippet
that-
record. I don't think I
we
want
could.
to though. You know what I mean?
I don't want to either, man. I'm
I'd
just
rather
saying,
just
I'm
land the
kind of
fish.
riding high on. I'm kind of riding high
I
on
know.
big fish landed on
I
light
know.
tippet.
I know it's very.
But
fun.
I don't care about records. I just care about hanging out with you guys.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun. Everybody, thanks so much for listening to the show. And the next one's gonna be Esnagami, and it'll be
That's
Idis,
cool.
and we'll probably have Eric on there too, Eric Lund.
I
it's
think we
just
should
gonna be so
also
fun to
have.
get up north.
I mean, if he wants to, have Ethan on. Ethan, our guy
Ethan
from
would be
last
great.
time. And
Ethan would be
Yeah.
great to have on the show.
Ethan's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He
Yep.
knows a lot. He was great on camera last year, and he's so knowledgeable and just so
Great fishy
Ethan's
guy.
great.
We'll
He's-
see.
he's-
Yeah, let's see what we can get cooking up there when we're up there. Let's see what we cook up.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I gotta mention it.
please.
This past week, guys, was like
I know.
awesome.
Mhm.
just I'm
Fished
was
so
super
much.
stressed.
We
Fished
fished
so much, super stressed leaving a job. Leaving
Yeah.
finishing a contract, and
Yeah,
we had so much going on with other shoots and stuff, and
we went fishing
just
a
to
lot.
sneak out for those couple evenings
That's the key,
Really-
That's the key.
really did wonders for the mental health.
So fun.
Oh, and we were
Just go
banging
out.
huge fish. Oh yeah, there was also
So fun to be like, okay, let's go out at 6, fish a couple hours. It's the best. It's the best. But again, we're lucky we can do it because the credit's only 30, 40 minutes away. And I kept thinking that, we talked about that a lot on that credit show. I kept thinking that when I was driving home, this is really insane, we just had a buck wild night and it's 20 minutes from home. This is crazy,
And also, so to echo something Mike said, I find it, I still love catching fish, but it's really fun when your friends catch fish, and it's even extra fun when they catch a fish on a flying tide. So that
Totally.
other night, Mitch, when you got we got that huge brown on
Yeah.
the Frenchie eye tide, I was like,
Yeah.
all right. That felt really good. I was like,
Yeah, it's
all
fun.
right.
Fun.
All right.
And that
It's totally
CDC
cool.
caddis too. I was like, all right.
Totally cool. You tie
Still
that
got
caddis?
Yeah.
Mama pajama, beautiful fly. Look at you go.
I was just dubbing one thing a CDC.
Oh, come on. Don't put
Off-
yourself
off
Oh,
you go.
come on.
It's two,
Put
it's two
yourself
things.
down
It's
now.
two things. It's two things.
Well, everybody, check out the show notes for all the Mike Crap fly tying content. Despite his handle, he's an exceptional fly tyer. I would say Mike exceptional. It's a bad joke. It's very lame. But everybody, check out the show notes for his YouTube.
That was like a Yoma level joke.
I know, for his drift videos, his drift time videos, his, of course, his Instagram page. And Mike, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. You're a good fella. And that's it for me, Mitch. Aldino.
Bye, everybody. I hope everyone's staying safe, and we're so close, Ontario, to lockdown being over. So, hang in there. Hang in there.
Yelma.
If you want to, reach out and tell us some jokes. Or
Oh,
you
do
want us
it.
to tell you jokes.
Whoa, what a fun
We're,
call out.
Info at sofly.ca.
Info at SoFly.ca. Send us your best fishing jokes. I'll read them on air. Aldo will read them on air. You'll read them on air. We'll read 3 jokes next show. We get 3 jokes. We're all reading them. So send them to info at SoFly.ca. Yoma?
Yeah. Just want to lighten the mood, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, man. I like that. It's gonna be that's gonna be a nice little way to end the show. Yoma?
Yeah, I mean, bye. See you guys later. This is awesome.
All right.
Well, I don't know how to follow that. That's see you guys.
You can find all of our content at sofly.ca. Reach out via email by sending your questions or comments to info@sofly.ca. Find us on Instagram @the SoFly Crew. Thanks for listening.